Varus joining Rumble on the bench. 100% banmate so far here in the LEC. Maybe G2 just ban out Jace as well. It's like, hey, we're just going to hide it forever. And then in Worlds Finals, Poby versus Caps in the mid lane. Caps cracks out the Jace. No, it's Gwen ban next for G2. So far, we've been seeing things like the Vi, the Gwen, the Sion, the Azir, the Talia. Some of our most banned here in the LEC. No surprises there. Maokai taken away from SkewMond gives you great zone control when it comes to team fights.
Feels to me that Wukong is the jungle pick in the LEC right now. Pantheon around the world, still the most banned.
Yep.
Both in the LPL and the LCK, they do not want to play against the champion. Here in the LEC, it hasn't won a game.
Yeah, 0-5, it's Pants Leon in the LEC. Other than the top of the Pantheon, Aurora the next ban from G2. Heretics looking at their last ban. Pantheon or Wukong are going to get through. Question is whether Heretics want to ban one of them and then leave the other up for G2. If they just leave both up, and it's like, okay, we'll take one, you take the other. And whether G2 actually even want to prioritize the Pantheon. Trundle instead banned away. Where is pick one, pack one here for G2? I can promise you this. It is not Kled. In fact, it's going to be the Sion.
I think Sion is very strong.
Undefeated here in the LEC.
I think that it is just a very strong champion. It feels like teams don't really have a good way to deal with it. The Azir, though, I think is a pretty good response. Leaving that open, Kamiloo wants to get his hands on that. Taking away from Caps, also a very valuable play. But with the Trundle gone, Sion naturally raises him in power. It
really does. And the common answer into this Azir is a Talia. Obviously can be a little bit susceptible to the Wukong, but you have the Unraveled Earth if he is looking for those engages. So wouldn't be surprised if this is just Talia plus jungle for G2. You could look towards something like the Poppy that does help you avoid some of those dashes from the Wukong and from the Azir. Of course, the Poppy can still be flexed down towards that support role as well.
But I very much agree with you. Right now it is looking like a mid lane pick, and it's going to be the Annie for Caps. I think that's still a fine matchup into the Azir. You do get outranged, but it does give you a little bit more engage. Poppy, not the best engaged champion, but when you have a Sion paired alongside an Annie, your options open up as you enter into the mid game. We're expecting an engaged support to come out from Labrov in the second half of the draft, but we'll see how much of that pool is limited, as I imagine Heretics is going to look to lock in either the AD carry here or maybe even a top lane response.
Yeah, one of the things if you're looking at G2's draft, you might be wondering is, do they have enough damage so far? Poppy does have good damage, especially if you go the Sundered Sky build out of the jungle. Sion obviously scales up well, but as a tank doesn't have too much DPS himself. Annie is more burst, so if you're just looking to one-shot people, you do have that. I wonder if they'll add something like a Jinx or an Aphelios or Yunara in there just to top up that DPS a little bit.
Right now, G2, I think, could consider a Yunara if they want to try and play more of the front to back.
Sure.
We've been seeing it rise in popularity around the world with mixed success, I would say.
I think it's still got a losing record over the entire world, but it's evening out a little bit.
Alternatively, Ezreal, very safe for the side of G2, especially with the amount of dive that Wukong is looking to threaten. The Rakan ban, I think, is smart from Heretics, removing some of that fast engage that can be difficult for champions like Azir to have to deal with. Heretics have a lot of freedom when it comes to their bot lane because they will be able to get themselves that support counter pick, which I think is super useful in what feels like a very limited engage meta at the moment. The Nico ban here to come through from the side of G2. Heretics looking to pinch that support pool a little bit more. Will they remove Labrov's Rel? Will they take away something like the Alistar, perhaps as well, two of his favorite champions?
Yeah, I think the Rel would work well here for G2. Gives you that zone control that you're looking for, and with the Annie on top of it, it does a lot of work. Alistar does a similar thing. Rel is the ban from Heretics. If they had left both open, they could have left their support pick for last and counter with the Alistar into the Rel, but we're not going to see that. I do agree with their take that this is Poppy jungle. SkewMond has played it twice this year. Labrov has played the Poppy once. SkewMond has won on it twice, and Labrov has not won on it. So if you're just looking at the numbers, G2 are a much better team when it is SkewMond piloting that Poppy. Thresh taken away, we are seeing a rise of things like Aphelios Thresh in the bottom lane over the last few weeks.
Also suggests they might be thinking of something that could be susceptible. Maybe an Ezreal Karma could be a possibility. But I'm also thinking Tyson Nautilus. There's that Yunara that we talked about. It's going to go in the hands of Flakked. We did see this come out from him last week. he had a very strong performance on it, but then in the later game, game 1 against Fnatic, he did start falling short, and it was very difficult for him to play into that Wukong coming through from Razor.
Yeah, part of the problem there was the dive ability of the Yunara. You had the Wukong, you had the Rumble ultimate on top of it, you had a Shockwave, you had a Kai'Sa. There were just so many things for the Yunara to deal with, and she's not that great at peeling for herself. When she pops that ultimate, can go invisible. Oh, I have that dash, sorry. There's the Jinx. We talked about it a little bit coming into the second phase of draft, where they just want that little bit more damage. If you're looking at this and you think support, do you need the engage? Possibly, but you could also just go towards something like a Braum or a Lulu, either an enchanter or just a disengage tool to provide that safety for Hans.
Yeah, because when you lock in this Jinx, you're fully committing to that front-to-back style, right? So how will Labrov look to round things out? Braum definitely feels like the direction. But Alistar, okay, I mean, it still works.
It does both. You can engage with the Alistar, or you can move away the opposition and just disengage really well. Heard what, Betty?
Move it away.
Oh, that's good. That's good pun. Well done, Betty. I like the way you're getting on top of it now.
The Braum response coming through from Stend. I think it makes a lot of sense into Alistar. He really struggles. Every time he engages, he's guaranteed to stun himself. So it's just a really good pick into many engaged supports. It does mean the Heretics are going to be quite reliant on Sheo to be that engaged, but I don't think that's uncharacteristic for this roster. When we think about Heretics, Sheo is kind of the centerpiece that makes this machine function. And I think back to last split, it was on this champion that he was able to save a lot of games for his team as well. So keep your eyes on Sheo in this game. He's going to be very important to the success of the team, but there's a decent amount of scaling on both sides. I'm expecting very much what we've been seeing from the meta so far. A lot of team fighting around these neutral objectives. Don't be surprised to see these early swaps come through, especially from a team like G2 that loves to leverage the Sion in the 2v1 lane.
I'll be really interested to see how much G2 prioritized Dragon stacking in the early game as well. We saw it a lot from KC last week, 5 minutes, 6-minute first Drake. Try and get that ball rolling really early on. Obviously, getting 4 Dragons, getting a soul, key to winning most games of League of Legends. If you can get to that point, you are in a very strong position as a team. The question is whether you trade early, give away a dragon, go for something else. Play Xerath, he's broken. Broken, although colloquially means it's good, traditionally, not a good thing for something to be broken.
That's
and Xerath, I think, falls into the traditional sense rather than the colloquial sense. As you jump onto Summoner's Rift for G2's first series of the split, Heretics second in their trial by fire, taking on Fnatic and G2, the expected top 2 teams in this group.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Now, for new viewers that may be just joining us here in Summer Split, of course, this is G2's first game of the split, and here are the faces to the players. Of course, we've cast them for quite a while now. A couple of new faces to the roster that joined in this year is Carlsen in quite a lot of danger.
Yeah, SkewMond's on the chaser. Carlsen trying to get away, but Hans Summer with the ghost. That's first blood!
That's first blood to a Jinx! Carlsen, what happened, man?
Observers, I got my hand up. Please show us what happened. We would love to know why Hans Summer, firstly, is on the blue side. Maybe just really good scouting, expecting Carlsen to invade there.
I don't think he was expecting a Jinx to be there. I wonder if that was some G2 prep where they know that this is something that Carlsen often does. Let's look back. I mean, yeah, Hans Summer is just here covering for a potential deep wards. They've spotted him out, and then they just chase him down.
He got the ward, though, Betty.
He does get the wards.
Have awareness. But I think one of the great things here for Jinx is you pop the ghost and you can chase, right? If the Cassandra's going to burn a flash, that's prime time for the Sion in the top lane. That's real estate that he is going to make his own. And Carlsen didn't burn the flash, kept it for the laning phase. It's a dagger for Hans Summer now on this Jinx, and Flakked and Stend will be dismayed with how this early portion of the game has gone.
Well, the good news for Heretics bot lane is that Yunara is still a very effective trading champion. The bad news is they just took a very bad trade. That was nicely done by hitting onto Labrov, blocking the Braum passive, but Hans Summer wasn't the target there, which allowed him to freely trade back onto Flakked. You can see they're about to hit that level 2 mark. They're going to threaten an all-in.
Oh, Labrov goes in immediately as they look for the engage on Flakked. No real escape here for the Yunara. He'll flash, but Hans Summer still has his. Stend flashes as well, looking for the final order on Hans, but It's a 2-0 Jinx, 2.5 minutes into the game.
This is not how Heretics want to start off this game. Hans Summer is being funneled kills, and it just through his own gameplay. He sets up a nice play on the top side of the map. They punish the aggression from Flakked and Stend. Stend is going to do his best to keep this wave alive, but we're not even 3 minutes in, and G2 find themselves already with a 1.1k gold lead, and it's all sitting on the Jinx.
Yeah. Okay, Heretics. I kind of bigged you up in the draft. You could just, you know, take a second, take a breath. First series of the week, perhaps a few bits of rust that we need to shake off. But currently, this is looking more oxidized than the bottom of a deep-sea trawler, Vedi. It's a rust joke, by the way.
I got it.
Yeah?
So I'm a little hurt.
I'm not sure it was a good rust joke. I don't really know how rust
I
works.
would have thought I always thought you were going to go like old nails or something.
Oh, sure. No,
yeah.
but that's like, have Heretics got tetanus now? They stab themselves, so they need to go get their injections.
Okay, you're getting far too vivid now. I know. Now, I'd love to describe the game state, but quick TLDR, it's bad.
Yes,
it is bad for Heretics. Great for G2. If you're a G2 fan, you are loving, living, laughing right now.
Oh, Sheo's going to jump across the wall with the decoy. Was warded out by Kamiloo, who's holding on to the stun and will use it. Flashes away from Kamiloo, just in case the chase continued. No threat of the Emperor's Divide, only level 4 on that Azir right now. Hans Summer, one more order would stun him up, but a good knock-up from Labrov. And a knockback on Stend keeps both Flakked and his support at bay.
Okay, so G2 have options now in terms of how they want to push this lead. One thing they can do is just start swapping. They can keep the 2v2 going as is. Like, you can see that they haven't really built much of a huge CS lead. You don't expect any much... I mean, it's already a tough matchup for both the Jinx and the Alistar into Braum, Yunara. Like, they are still a powerful trading bot lane 2v2. Hans and Labrov still have to show a modicum of respect, even though they do have that item advantage. But SkewMond's turning his attention to the top side of the map instead. He wants to try and steal away some camps. It is Sheo that gets that big Krug, but SkewMond's stealing away these little ones.
I do really like this from SkewMond as well, because something we saw from Heretics in week 1 was how integral Sheo was to them winning games. Him getting ahead, his Sejuani game where he did the second most damage on the team on Sejuani was one of the reasons Heretics were able to fight against Fnatic. Here, SkewMond just messing up that tempo, just getting in the mind, getting in the face, using the pressure he has in the mid lane from Caps to push in here and force Sheo and Kamiloo away.
Hex Flash
away. Hex Flash going in. Flame Chomper's down as well as Broken Blade's down to 300 HP. Knocked into the wall. It's a solo bolo! It's Carlsen! Just 1v1 Phoebe!
Okay. Carlsen finding a solo kill. This game is confusing. That was a pretty big misplay from Broken Blade.
That's a huge misplay. Let's be honest, playing Side's most broken tank on the patch.
And I mean, what the champion does super well is not die.
Yes.
Even though you want to exploit that passive from time to time, and the laning phase is often not the place. And so we're going to look back at this trade, but I'm not sure there's much to break down. Carlsen just takes a couple nice trades. He chips him down his HP. And then he knows that he's waiting for the cooldown of the Unstoppable. The shield gets used early from Broken Blade. He gets very little value out of that. And Carlsen just says, you know what, with the tower aggro and what's there more to say, really? Just very well executed, just waits for those cooldowns to come up, and he punishes Broken Blade in the 1v1.
And super greedy from Broken Blade as well. Standing in front of the tower with the Decimating Smash, making it easy for the Cassante to get in, get out with that Pathmaker. Really well done by Carlsen, but Broken Blade, one of the questions we had coming out of MSI is whether his form, he would return to the form we expect from him, or whether he'd have a disappointing performance like MSI. And it's only 6 minutes in game one, but that's not a good sign.
Yes, it's not how you want to start off your split for sure. Now, real throwback, I forget what international event it was, but there was a situation with Hans Summer and Cassante. There was a certain discussion around some certain items that should or shouldn't have been bought. And I feel like many people will have their eyes on that in this game, considering Carlsen is now getting a little bit ahead, and he is going to be the main problem for Hans Summer to have to deal with as we transition later on into this game. But Hans Summer being accelerated likely will be able to work towards that itemization that has a way of dealing with Carlsen.
It's the I will dominates demands, right? Regards. It would have been better if I actually got the name right, wouldn't it? But we did also ask whether G2 would look for dragon stacking. It's Heretics who get the first Drake of the game, 7 minutes in. G2 went for a swap towards this top side, possibly to get Broken Blade out of a matchup that he was losing, but also because if you get a bit of free time with a tower, with a Jinx, that ramping attack speed just really helps you shred through them. So you can get some of these early plates. Teleport coming out from Stend, who has the unsealed spellbook. He's going to join his mid laner to make sure that this defense holds, but I don't think G2 are really looking for a play here, more making sure that they have set up around the grubs. Broken Blade being left to his own devices on the bottom side. No TP for Carlsen and Kamiloo. This is just going to equalize the entirety of the solo kill in the top lane. He's going to be able to pick up 2 plates. There's no response at all from Heretics. Now Kamiloo's moving down, but his teleport is probably still about 30 seconds away from coming off cooldown.
Yeah, the sequence in the map movements has given G2 a big opportunity to build a lead. Ultimate's going to be used by Kamiloo. Not so much effect, I feel. That was an extra tower shot, though.
Broken Blade's going to hit the Decimating Smash here. Should have the shield in a second as well. Kamiloo tanking up all those minions. Can't really do much to actually shred through Broken Blade, who, going through the pots and the biscuits, heals himself all the way up. Grubs secured as well. 2-1 in favor of G2.
So the objective will go in favor of G2, even if Heretics are able to deny the 3 grub buff. Ultimately, though, in terms of a map state, I think G2 is happier with how things are going right now. They've got their Jinx in a 1v1 against Cassante, free farming and getting all that free experience. Sheo is looking to try and steal away these camps. Stend is right next to him.
Because the blow's going to come out, there's a Cyclone follow-up. I don't think they have the damage yet for SkewMond. Second Cyclone with the knock-up. FLICKR not in range, really, to put some damage into that Poppy.
I think G2 isn't confident enough in their damage to try and force a play there. So Heretics, nice play by them to steal away those Raptors. Of course, no real objectives on the map right now to play for. Plates are usually what you can take into consideration. The problem with moving Flakked into the mid lane is it is harder for you to get priority on that lane.
I mean, this is the problem. Carlsen's just going to go in. There's the all-out follow-up. Summer's already burnt the flash, doesn't have the ghost. The TP coming in to try and help him out, but he might be dead before his help arrives. Labrov now. No way for him to deal with the Cassante. Carlsen, 2-0, both solo kills.
Eyes need to be drawn to Carlsen as he finds himself another solo kill and onto an extremely important member. Getting that kill onto Summer not only slows him down, but it accelerates this Cassante. Those resistances are going to continue to be built up, and it's going to be harder and harder for Summer to deal with. They get his flash out as well, which is extremely important with the Dragon 2 minutes away. It's going to put Heretics in a great position to contest that neutral.
And for Carlsen, what a mentality to come back from dying level 1 to then getting 2 solo kills. Like, you have to give the guy credit. Yes, he's playing Cassante, but it's not the Cassante of yesteryear. It's not the one where Showmaker's punching his screen and being disappointed in the balance of League. This champion has its weaknesses, especially with the Pathmaker having to direct it at the start of the channel now, rather than being able to redirect it in the middle. Kamiloo here dodging away from the Decimating Smash, and in the end, it's still a 1,000 gold lead for G2, but Heretics are holding on.
And I was just talking about how I felt like the assignments were good for G2 because they have that Jinx just free farming in a solo lane, and it's really great for Carlsen to just straight up punish that, saying if you leave your AD carry alone, this is what happens. And this is why Yunara is being put in mid, because it's safer for Flakked in that lane and much harder for G2 to try and force a play on them. So Heretics still find themselves behind in gold, but at the very least in a little bit more of a comfortable position.
I wouldn't be surprised if G2 now move Summer into the mid lane, not only because he was just killed, but because he doesn't have that flash anymore. A longer lane, much weaker for the Jinx when you don't have the ghost, when you don't have the flash. You already saw his teammates coming up to make sure that he could get that push out, and we see the TP up towards the top side as well by Broken Blade. So a lane reassignment looks like it's going to be bot lane for Summer, but away from the Cassante that has been causing him so much bother, and towards the Drake, which is coming up in 40 seconds.
We're also seeing the Blade of the Ruin King come through from Flakked. This was something that Upset spoke about last week, believing it to be the superior build on this champion, and it seems as though Flakked very much agrees with him. Often, second item, we'll see things like the Runan's Hurricane as well, because you just get so much value, because when your auto attacks are bouncing between people, you can get those extra triggers off of the itemization. So we'll keep our eyes on Flakked as the team fights draw closer, but as we kind of expected, a slower early game. We've seen those individual performances stand out from both sides now, but this game is really going to boil down to the team fights and their fundamental execution, where We haven't talked about him much, but SkewMond has been getting the better of his jungle counterpart, building up a healthy lead of 750 gold.
Yeah, 30 CS lead in the jungle at 12 minutes is sizable. He's gone for the Sundered Sky first. We talked about how this does give the Poppy, firstly, a little bit more damage, but also a little bit more survivability because of those critical strikes that give you the healing back. We're setting up around this next Drake, and if I'm Heretics, I'm looking at my inventory and I'm saying, we're a little bit lacking here, lads. We don't have completed items on basically any of our champions, apart from that Cassante in the top lane. He does have TP, and then you look at G2, Yuntal, Malignant, Sundered Sky, Sunfire Cape. That is a dearth of completions for Heretics, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just give this one up. It will only be the first break of the game for G2. Heretics getting that earlier one when G2 swapped the top means they don't have to be too worried about too many dragons. Stend there, knocked back with a flash forward out of Labrov. He's going to try and flash away, but he's slammed into the wall and he's just dead. An overstep, to say the least, from Stend.
Did not respect the engage possibilities from G2. And he ends up losing his life, giving a third kill over to Hansama now. This is going to leave this bot tower exposed as well. There's nothing that Kamiloo can do without the assistance of his support. And both SkewMond and Hansama are going to reap the benefits.
This is the sort of sequence that really changes the game. The fact that Stend gets caught, G2 get the Drake, and they're going to get so much gold into Hansama. He was about 400 ahead at the start of that sequence, now 800 in the lead. Could get first tower in this bot lane alongside it. He is going to be so dramatically accelerated. And you look for Heretics, like, where is our key point that can deal with this Jinx? It's only Carlsen, really, at the moment, who can do it. And there's enough protection for G2 to keep that Jinx alive.
Caps gonna get a bit of damage down on the Sheo.
Decimating Smash coming out across the wall from both ways, not gonna connect. Cyclone out of Sheo, and again, a Heretics player just overstepping. Tibbers brought to the party just to make sure that Caps doesn't die. He does not, and he picks up his first of summer.
Sheo was trying to get some camps back. He has been falling behind to the aggression that we've been seeing from Labrov and SkewMond, who have done a great job of working together this game, moving into Heretics' side of the jungle. It was something you identified early on, Medic, which is trying to put Sheo behind, and knowing that plays were happening on the bot side, he tries to cross map, but ultimately he stays a little bit too long, and Caps finds a punish. And now, G2, while they only had a small lead earlier, Heretics had this win condition of Carlsen. You can feel the game quickly slipping away from them as Caps and Hansama continue to grow their lead.
And I don't just want to heap praise onto G2 here, but I do want to talk about how this is one of the clearest examples of good prep paying off in a game. How did they catch the Cassante level 1? They knew that he often oversteps and tries toward that blue buff. They get a kill. How did they shut down Sheo? They tracked him in his jungle and they made sure Heretics couldn't play through the player that is so often their playmaker. And now Sheo is desperate, so he's going for these aggressive plays, giving G2 more avenues, more weaknesses to exploit. It's really good prep. I wonder if the extra week off that they had has allowed them to do this a little bit more. But because of it, G2 are now 3,000 gold ahead at 15 minutes.
I mean, I think it's also just worth reminding some of the individual mistakes that we have still seen from them this game, right? And the fact that Broken Blade die in the 1v1, Hans gets caught out in the top lane as well. And these are the things that we're still keeping our eyes on. Stend finds himself caught once more.
Yep, once again, just overstepping. Flame Chompers behind him, stunned up with a trample slammed into the wall, and Stend dies again. And if I'm the analyst for G2, I'm saying, no, I don't control the hats. I just tell him what the enemy team's gonna do. G2 getting another kill, going over to SkewMond this time, a 1.2k lead both in the jungle and in that AD carry role. For Heretics, the question is now, what do you do? How do you get back into the game? Are you just looking to try and scale towards your second item?
Exactly that. Heretics are looking for a good fight. The problem is they're being suffocated on the map as SkewMond and Labrov continue to move into their side of the jungle.
He can't dash away because of the steadfast presence. He puts the Emperor's Divide down, but Caps is running past the tower, decides against it with the TP coming in. The trample being used as well by Labrov. Doesn't get the stun. Stend misses the Glacial Fissure, but Sheo uses the Hex Gates to slide his way in, and Kamiloo, in the end, is getting paid.
At the very least, from this play, Heretics is able to get something back. The Jinx rocket is thrown towards the top side to interrupt the back, but look at the rest of the map. Broken Blade pushes in bot wave, the mid wave is also pushed in, Caps was threatening that top tower. Ultimately, though, I still think small win for Heretics. They did have to commit a lot of members onto that top side, so some experience, some gold will be lost. But at the very least, slowing G2 down with their aggression buys you a little bit more time to find that fight that you're looking for. Heretics still have a decent front-to-back composition. When you've got an Azir in the game, you always have that potential for a late-game team fight. And with a Cassante still in the position that he's in, I feel like Heretics have options as long as they stop getting caught out and they stop conceding pretty much everything on the map. They need to find these cross maps where they can.
They're about to be in a 2v5 in this top side. SkewMond looking for the damage onto Sheo. Labrov coming in as well. Pops the trample early, trying to get that stun. Cycling out from Sheo will keep him alive for now, but the chase continues. Labrov lands the knocker, and Broken Blade brings down the axe. Carlsen under his tier 2 has Stend to defend, and he will manage to escape.
Another tower gonna go in favor of G2. This time they brought cavalry while making this play happen on the top side of the map. And Heretics, they're doing the right thing. They're trying to cross map on the bot side, but with the Herald, they're just not gonna be able to contest fast enough. G2 looking to knock down their second tower in the top lane. And that gold lead just continues to grow.
And more gold in the pockets of Hansama and SkewMond. Kamiloo was able to take a tower on the bot side, as you say. Kind of shrunk the gold gap in the mid lane a little bit, but he is still 500 gold behind himself. In fact, only Carlsen ahead for Heretics right now. But at the moment, only has that Warden's Veil and the Iceborne Gauntlet. Will really need to stack up those tanky stats if he is going to be able to deal with Hansama later on in the game.
Sheo doesn't have ulti, making this fight much harder to pull off. Kamiloo is in the area.
Oh, Hexgate behind from Labrov, has the blast cone too. Could Hex flash across this wall, looks for the chase, the tipper's down onto Stend. Flashes away from the headbutt pulverized combination. Drake goes into the pockets of G2.
It's an interesting game because when we think back, like this whole game has largely been determined by picks.
Yeah.
There was the pick from Hansama onto Carlsen at level 1. Then there was a misplay from Flakked and Stend in the 2 versus 2. Oh.
That's really nice from Cap. So he procs the stun. Tibbers will be on the chase. Doesn't quite have the damage.
Oh.
The super mega death rocket won't find its mark.
It's funny because that was almost another pick.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been seeing in this game. One that I expected there to be a lot of team fighting in, but Carlsen finding those 2 picks, both onto Broken Blade, I guess a solo kill, and then also that pick onto the Jinx in the top lane. But then in the mid game, it's just been Stend. Stend got caught in the bot lane, Stend got caught around the Herald, Sheo then gets caught in top lane. We just saw Flakked almost getting caught in mids. Like, this game has largely just been about individuals not quite being in the right place and then their opposition punishing them. And right now, it is G2 that is punishing Heretics that much better.
And if you are caught by G2, it's so hard to get away because they have so much CC. There's no Merc Treads yet on Stend, which means no tenacity to mitigate some of that crowd control, but headbutt pulverize, steadfast presence, slam into the wall, tibbers, any stun follow-up, flame chompers, decimating smash, unstoppable onslaught. Every player on this team has the ability to keep you locked in one spot. We saw the unstoppable onslaught out from Broken Blade. SkewMond looking for a flank here. Cap's not on vision, but a couple of pings coming out from Heretics as they realize he may be in the vicinity. Stend puts a ward down and immediately is slammed into the wall by SkewMond. Flakked and Sheo here to join the party. Labrov goes in with a Hex Flash, gets the knock-up. Steadfast presence there to stop it. Glacial Fisher coming out as well. Carlsen on the bottom side has to pathmaker his way away. Cap's a little bit separated from G2 here, and if he walks around the corner, will be spotted on vision. Hansama popping the ghost just to make sure that he can extricate himself from a sticky situation. Second item as well, already complete for Hansama, that Infinity Edge, his weapon of choice.
Cap's just continuing to push in the top lane. 205 CS at 20 minutes. Very nice farm from him, where his impact has largely been felt on the side lanes. 1-0-2 scoreline for now. The Artican just going to be started off. G2 know that they're stronger. And look at their wave control as well. Mid being pushed in, top being pushed in. The question is that they spread themselves too thin. Heretics trying to find a way into the objective.
Broken Blade doesn't have ultimate. Keeper's Verdict coming out, hits onto the Wukong, and now Stend is in for a world of hurt once again. Locked up in the jungle, tries to escape. Another order will be enough. SkewMond flashes forward and the zap doesn't even need to connect. SkewMond now slid back into the base of Sheo. Carlsen looking for the flank as well. There's the shutdown for Sheo. Carlsen going in. Hansama flashing out. Heretics will take their kill, but they lost a man and the Artican alongside it.
I think the zone control that G2 had, with all the pressure they were exerting on the map, made it very difficult for Heretics to enter. But then it was G2 that initiated the fight. And now Broken Blade might be in a bit of danger.
Flakked has one item, I think he's fine.
I think you're completely right. But then G2 overextend, and Heretics find a way to get something back. So you can see the Otacon just can't be approached. It ends up dropping.
They overextend.
Through. And then, okay. Stend ends up falling, but then G2 think that they can go for a little bit more. And this is where Heretics find an angle to punish. A nice ultimate comes through from Kamiloo. Caps is being zoned away from the Azir tower. And then you've also got Carlsen threatening the backline, getting the flash out from Hansama as well. Ultimately, though, a 1-for-1 trade in exchange for the Otacon with 39 flowers. The gold is 4K, but the added value that they give, the monetary value, won't be shown at the top of your screen.
Yeah, it's probably like 1.5 to 2,000 gold worth of stacks.
I think it's
with
even more than that, actually.
Yeah, maybe. I can't do the maths on the fly.
No,
I'm
at
sorry.
MSI, I remember Flowers was super invested in this, and when you had like a 23 Flowers, it gave you like 1.5 to 2.
Yeah, so I was
39.
But they're 33 ahead of their opposition. And because they scale, the first 6 are stronger than the last 6 in that case. So I was trying to do the mental maths in the middle there, but I'm a doctor, not a mathematician, man.
Fair, yeah.
So, G2 are in a strong position. I think we can all agree on that. Hansama has realized perhaps getting a Last Whisper is a good idea, with the Randuins and the Frozen Fist already sitting on Carlsen. But Heretics, how much can you delay? And I think that is the key question for them, because they need to delay. They're 4,000 gold in the hole. They just got their second item.
Doesn't have flash, which is one of the best times to try and find the punish. You've got 2 items finished on the majority of your carry.
That's true.
Carlsen is still a real threat, but it's a question of can you get in position to find this fight, because in the straight up front to back, you have to give the edge to the Jinx that is strong as she is.
And Sheo is currently pushing out the bot lane wave, maybe looking for a flank of his own, but there's a control ward from G2, and Heretics have to step forward and put a control ward of their own in this mid lane bush. It's cleared out immediately. Heretics playing for that mid lane wave. You can see how aggressively, how far up Carlsen's pushing in that wave to make sure that the mid lane minions die first. G2 will start up the Drake. They're not really forcing to defend around their mid lane tier 1. Heretics now stepping forward. Glacial Fisher, Caps gets the stun before the Cyclone comes out. Drake over to G2. The engage continues and Hansama's untouched. Unbreakable, Stend is no longer. Hansama left to deal with Carlsen, but Caps flashes in and Tibbers finds his man. Carlsen knocked back. G2 defend their AD carry. It's a double for the Jinx, and BB and Caps are not done yet. Super Mega Death Rocket connects onto the Azir. Sheo should get out with the Blast Cone, but Caps might cut him off. Tibbers there to try and give vision. Caps no flash, but does have the stun. Flash forward, Cyclone. Caps will die to the tower, but Sheo will follow suit to the axe of Broken Blade.
A nice counterplay from Sheo, but it was a last-ditch effort as the rest of Heretics fall. G2 make the front to back happen. They win the team fight. They're looking to secure another tower. They get themselves the Drake. And this game is all but said and done, as G2 just seem to be in full control 25 minutes in.
Yeah, it's almost a 6,000 gold lead. They've taken tier 2s in the top lane, in the mid lane. Here we can see what Heretics are thinking. Collapse on Caps, but Carlsen goes in one side, Sheo's forced up towards the other side, and it's just not coordinated.
Broken Blade with a fantastic engage, getting a 3-person knock-up with a Labrov follow-up, and then the SkewMond there as well. The coordination, on the other hand, between that trio set everything up for Hansama and Caps to dish out the damage needed to win out on the fight.
Hansama topping the damage charts on his way to a Dominic's regards.
Now completed.
Has just finished it up. 3 items on him, still only 2 on Flakked, who is lagging behind when it comes to DPS right now. Not all his fault, of course. His enemy laner did come into lane with an extra dagger, with extra gold in his pockets, but since then G2 have played relatively well around keeping that Jinx safe. SkewMond, steadfast presence again. The power of the Poppy so difficult to deal with when a lot of your engage relies on dashes. If your Wukong's going to get in, it's a dash Cyclone. If the Kasante's going to get in, it's a dash Pathmaker. If Kamiloo's going to get in, he has to dash too. Broken Blade just tanking up Heretics. At 3 items, Labrov going in for the engage. There's a knock-up onto Carlsen. Flame Chomper's not quite perfectly placed. Stend has to flash the wall, and someone also will get the knock-up onto him. Super Mega Death Rocket follows up, and Hansama with a zap threats the Needle. Flakked putting out some DPS himself as Carlsen's forced back towards the Razor Beak camp. G2 will settle for that, playing a 4v5, getting a kill, and getting a tier 2 on bot side.
Now the classic split push Annie coming through from Caps on the other side of the Rift as the Baron is going to be started off. G2 is looking to put pressure across all sides of the map onto Heretics. SkewMond is getting a little bit low.
You've got the Buckler on the Poppy, so he should be able to just shield himself up. TP in from Caps. He wants to join the fight around the big purple worm.
Okay,
Sheo can still look for the steal here.
But the Poppy ult, remember the Poppy ult.
Look at where Labrov is trying to be a nuisance. Gets the knockback, but it's only onto the decoy and onto Kamiloo. Still, because Labrov is there, Sheo can't get into the pit before it's secured. SkewMond dashing in, flashing in, looking for the kill, and Sheo will fall. The Cyclone, a breath of air at most, not tempestuous at all as G2 find 2 Flakkeds down. Stend and Kamiloo forced away. Carlsen retreating to his base, now stops his recall to join up with the fight, but it's too little, it's too late. Kamiloo and Carlsen full HP, and immediately G2 turns their attentions across towards the Cassante. Decimating smash will be blocked, but the steadfast presence blocks the dash again. G2 16-5 up, 10k ahead, and we wondered whether the G2 vacation memes would continue. It seems the dreams of Heretics have been turned into nightmares. G2, in dominant fashion, will take the win.
An impressive performance, specifically from SkewMond on Labrov in the early game. The way that they put Sheo behind and they built up and executed in the mid game was fantastic to see. G2 with a strong showing overall here in game 1 of this series.
Not much Heretics can do to defend G2. Not yet focusing the Nexus, but as soon as they do, they will wrap it up. Tibbers comes to make it 6v3. As even on the fountain, you are not safe. G2 1-0 up, a 14,000 gold lead in 28.5 minutes.
I mean, obviously, all eyes are going to be on Han Summit in this game, but it's really worth looking back at how much pressure SkewMond and Labrov really put onto the enemy jungle and the things that they were doing in these team fights. Honestly, just a super impressive performance from SkewMond this game specifically.
It really was. We're going to go to a short break and see if Heretics can bounce back in game 2 right after this.